In America, we typically deal with measurements in feet. So if we're talking about height, we might say somebody is 6 feet tall. That's about my height. And every foot is 12 inches. It's kind of a weird system that we have 12 inches to make 1 foot. So if I'm 6 feet tall, or if I'm 6.5 feet, how many inches is that? The conversion is a little bit tricky, but this is kind of what we base everything off of in our American system. And when we're talking football, we're dealing with different units of measurement. In football, we use yards, and yards are made up of 3 feet each. So in between each of these lines is 5 yards, which is 15 feet. So from here to here is 10 yards, so this is 30 feet from the 30-yard line to the 40-yard line. Now when we're dealing with distances in America, typically we'll deal with miles. This also is usually how we'll measure speed. So our speed limit sign here is 25. It doesn't tell us what, but the law implies that it's 25 miles per hour. Now converting that into feet is a little bit tricky. 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So if I want to go 25 miles in an hour, how many feet is that? I'd have to do 25 times 5,280. If I want to figure out how many inches I'm going in an hour, then I have to also multiply that number by 12. So 5,280 times 25 times 12 would tell me how many inches in an hour I was traveling if I was going 25 miles per hour. So the conversion doesn't work out so nice. It's kind of messy. Also, hours are kind of a long measurement of time. So measuring in terms of hours doesn't really work very well, especially if you're dealing with quick, short bursts of time. So instead of dealing with hours, we're going to be dealing with seconds. And instead of dealing with miles and feet and yards, we're going to be dealing with meters. This might seem confusing at first, but you're going to understand that this is really the best way to approach any type of measurement. And this is it. This is a meter. This is the distance that we're going to deal with primarily in physics. It's a little over 3 feet, but we don't want to worry about feet because feet don't work, as we've found out. Now, what's great about a meter is that it can convert to big distances and small distances really, really easily. Much better than converting from inches to feet, to yards, to miles. So on a meter, it's got a whole bunch of different smaller measurements. On this one, it's measured from 1 to 100. Those smaller measurements are called centimeters, with a C, C-E-N-T-I-M-E-T-E-R-S. Centimeters. The way to remember this is how many cents are in a dollar? Well, there's 100. How many years are in a century? There's 100. So how many centimeters are in a meter? Well, there's 100. Now, if I want to figure out a bigger distance, then I'm going to deal with kilometers, kilometers. So these are closer to being like a mile long. Kilo means 1,000. So if I'm measuring a kilometer or a kilometer, then it's 1,000 of these. And if I want to figure out how many centimeters are in a kilometer, the math is much easier. I just take 100 times 1,000. So there's 100,000 centimeters in a kilometer. Much, much better. If I'm dealing with speeds, like if we were going 25 kilometers per hour, like how we were going 25 miles per hour earlier, then the math is still pretty easy. Just, if I want to know how many centimeters I've traveled, then I do 100 times 1,000 times 25. So really it's 100,000 times 25, which gives us 2.5 million centimeters in a kilometer, or in 25 kilometers. It can work much, much better. So get used to this. It's a little bit difficult if you haven't done it before, but it should help make your life a lot easier.